What God does when He puts His seal on your life. There are people who aren't famous, don't hold a title, and don't speak loudly, yet something about them carries weight. Others listen when they talk. The atmosphere shifts when they walk into a room, not because they're trying to be impressive, but because there is a spiritual reality resting on their lives, something the world did not give, and the world cannot take away. Scripture calls it a seal, the seal of God, not a physical stamp or a religious symbol, but a divine mark that signals to heaven, to earth, and even to hell. This one belongs to me. The seal of God is not a mood, not a temporary emotional high, and not a moment you have to recreate over and over again. It is a heavenly declaration, a quiet but unstoppable announcement. I know you, I've chosen you, I am protecting you, and I will reveal you at the right time. Once God places His seal on someone, their journey is never the same. They no longer need to fight to be seen. They don't have to compete for validation, because when heaven has sealed you, earth cannot undo it. Today, we're going to explore what actually happens in the life of a person when God puts His seal on them, how it shapes their identity, guards their path, preserves them through delays, and prepares them for the moment God finally unveils what He's been protecting. This isn't theory. This is how God handles those He entrusts with something that carries His name. Part 1. God marks you as His own. When God puts His seal on your life, the very first thing He does is not to hand you a job description. He does not rush to give you a position, a platform, or a title. He quietly settles a much deeper question inside you, who you belong to. Before there is any assignment, there is identity. Before there is any public role, there is a private knowing in your spirit that says, I am His. For many believers, this is where God begins to change the atmosphere inside their hearts. You may look exactly the same on the outside, but something shifts in the way you see yourself. You start to sense that you are no longer just one more person trying to survive or prove your worth. There is a new freedom that begins to grow, sometimes slowly, sometimes suddenly. You realize you do not have to win every comparison anymore. You do not have to chase every opinion. Heaven has already spoken over you. The seal of God is like a quiet declaration written across your life. This one is mine. It does not shout, but it stands. Other voices may rise and fall, but this word remains. You may walk through seasons where people misunderstand you, overlook you, or judge you by what they see. Yet beneath all of that, the Spirit of God keeps reminding your heart, you are not up for sale, you are not on trial, you are already claimed. One of the signs that God is marking you as His own is that your inner appetite begins to change. Things that once entertained you no longer satisfy you the same way. Conversations that used to feel fun now leave you a little uneasy. Environments where God is ignored or mocked start to feel heavy on your spirit. You are not becoming difficult or strange. You are simply waking up to who you really are. Another sign is a new refusal to live in compromise. Not because you have become harsh, but because your heart knows it is carrying something that does not belong to the world. You may still struggle in some areas, as we all do, but there is a growing part of you that cannot make peace with a double life. The seal on you gently pulls you away from what dulls your spirit and toward what keeps you close to the Lord. You may also notice a quiet, unexplainable peace settling in places where fear used to dominate. The circumstances around you might not change immediately, but your sense of identity inside them does. You walk into the same job, the same house, the same responsibilities, yet there is a deeper steadiness in your soul. You know you are not alone. You know you are not random. You know you are held. And something else happens. Little by little, The need to impress people begins to lose its grip. You still care about others, you still value relationships, but the fear of what they think no longer rules your decisions the way it used to. You can say yes without panic. You can say no without guilt. You are not building your life on the shifting sand of human approval anymore. You are standing on the seal of a God who has already said, "You are mine." If you recognize these shifts in your own life, take a moment to breathe that in. You are not just changing because of age, personality, or season. You are being marked. The Lord is writing His name over your story. Before He talks to you about where you will go or what you will do, He is taking time to whisper who you are. You belong to Him. And once heaven has made that clear, no other voice can define you again. Part 2. God seals and protects what He owns. When God places His seal on a life, that seal is not just a message of identity. It is a line of protection. In the ancient world, a sealed document was guarded by the authority of the king. Anyone who tampered with it was not simply breaking paper. They were challenging the one who issued the seal. That same principle lives in the spirit realm today. When God seals you, it is His way of saying, "Do not touch what belongs to me." That does not mean nothing difficult will ever come your way, but it does mean nothing can come without passing through His permission first. There are battles you never fought, not because the enemy ignored you, but because God blocked the attack before it reached you. There were people who meant to harm you, but suddenly lost interest. There were opportunities you desperately wanted that somehow slipped through your fingers, only for you to discover later that they would have drained your soul. Protection does not always feel like protection while it's happening, but it is protection nevertheless. Sometimes the seal of God looks like closed doors. Not every closed door is rejection. Some are rescue, some are reroutes, some are shields disguised as disappointments. You prayed for something with all your heart, but the door did not open. At the time you felt forgotten. But now you look back and think, "Thank you, Lord, for not letting me walk into what I thought I wanted." Only a Father who sees further than we do can protect us in ways we did not ask for, but always needed. Other times His protection shows up through separation. People who used to walk closely with you begin to drift. You don't argue. You don't even understand the shift. You just feel like your paths no longer fit together. It can feel lonely in that moment. But later you realize that the distance preserved your spirit. God is not only protecting you from harm, He is protecting the work He is doing inside you. Not every voice, not every influence, not every environment is meant to stay in your life when His seal is on you. There are also invisible protections. Moments you never even knew happened. The accident you avoided. The conversation you didn't overhear. The decision you were delayed just long enough to miss. In the natural, it looks like coincidence. In the unseen, it was a divine hand, saying, "Not that way, not today." The seal of God does not announce itself with thunder. It works like a shield around your steps, establishing boundaries you did not know you needed. And here's something many believers eventually notice. After you've been sealed by God, certain sins lose their pleasure. Certain environments lose their comfort. Certain relationships lose their grip. That's not your willpower improving. That's God protecting your spirit by stirring discomfort where you do not belong. He allows your peace to leave so that your purpose can stay safe. His sealing is not only about keeping things out, it is about keeping you in alignment with Him. So if lately you feel like God is protecting you in ways you cannot explain, if doors close, if people leave, if opportunities fall apart, if something deep inside says, "Don't go there," do not panic. Do not assume something is wrong. This is not abandonment. This is ownership. This is the shepherd guarding what he has claimed. You are sealed. That means you are watched over. It means the enemy is limited. It means the story of your life is not open for trespassing. The devil may threaten. People may misunderstand. Circumstances may shift. But there is a mark on you that hell recognizes and heaven defends. And sometimes the greatest evidence of God's protection is not what you see him stop, but the peace you feel when you finally realize, I am not walking through this world unguarded. I am sealed by the one who calls me his own. Part 3. God preserves you until the appointed time. There is a part of God's sealing that almost no one talks about, yet every chosen person eventually lives through it. The waiting. When something is sealed, it is not hidden because it is useless. It is stored because it is valuable. A sealed letter is not discarded. It is protected until the right moment. A sealed assignment is not forgotten. It is preserved until the time is full. That is what God does with a life he intends to use deeply. He keeps you, even when you feel like nothing is happening. Many believers confuse preservation with delay. We assume that if God has chosen us, things should move quickly, doors should open easily, and opportunities should follow soon after. But in Scripture, God's seal does not rush a destiny. It guards it. David was anointed long before he was crowned. Joseph dreamed long before he ruled. Jesus was the Son of God long before he preached a single sermon. Heaven was not late. Heaven was preserving what man could not handle yet. Perhaps you have felt that tension yourself. You see potential in your spirit, but your life doesn't seem to reflect it yet. You know God has spoken something over you, but nothing around you seems to confirm it. You watch others advance while you stay in the same place. If you're honest, there are days when you wonder if you misheard God, or if he has changed his mind. But preservation is not punishment. It is protection for what is still developing inside you. There are seasons when God pulls you away from visibility, so he can strengthen what no one else sees. He keeps you low, so your character can go deep. He allows quiet years so your roots can handle the weight of future fruit. You feel like you are behind, but in reality, you are being held back by love. God does not release what he has sealed until it is ready to stand. Sometimes the preservation is emotional. You find that God shields your heart from certain relationships or keeps you from attaching yourself too quickly. You may feel like you are missing out, but he is guarding the softness of your spirit. He is not depriving you. He is preserving you from wounds and distractions that would distort the purpose inside you. Sometimes the preservation is practical. You pray, you prepare, you do everything you know to do, but nothing seems to break open yet. And here's the truth, almost no one wants to hear. God's timing is not only about opportunity, it is about calibration. He is aligning your maturity with your calling, so that when the moment arrives, you will not just enter it, you will endure it. Even Jesus was sealed. Even Jesus waited. He lived 30 years before 3 years of ministry. If the Son of God was preserved until the appointed time, why would it be strange that you are too? What God builds slowly, he builds securely. What he guards in secret, he intends to use publicly. But he will not release what is sacred before it is strong. If you feel like life is paused, like you are circling the same place, like you're ready but heaven seems silent, do not assume something is wrong with you. You may be in the safest place a believer can be sealed and preserved, not overlooked, not forgotten, protected for a purpose that requires patience. One day, when God opens the seal and the assignment unfolds, you will realize the waiting was not a delay. It was a strategy. Everything he kept you from was guarding everything he planned to give you. Every moment you fought to understand was shaping the strength you will need. And when the time is full, you will step into what he prepared, not as someone starving for validation, but as someone ready, steady, and anchored in the quiet confidence of a life that was never on pause, only preserved. Part Quattro. God establishes spiritual weight in you. There is a moment in the journey of every sealed believer when something begins to change, not on the outside first, but deep within. You may not have a bigger platform. Your life may look ordinary, but your words start to carry more meaning. Your presence carries more peace. Your decisions carry more clarity. What people feel around you is not personality. It is weight, not the kind that burdens, but the kind that steadies. It is the weight of a life God has been shaping from the inside out. The seal of God doesn't just protect you, it matures you. It develops a certain gravity in your soul that cannot be faked or rushed. While others hurry to be impressive, God is building something deeper in you, something that does not need applause to be real. When the Spirit fills a person and seals them for purpose, He works in quiet places where no one is clapping. He strengthens conviction. He deepens wisdom. He sharpens discernment. He builds a stability that pressure cannot break. You may notice it in the way you speak. You don't feel the need to talk as much, because you no longer need to prove anything. When God seals you, you can be silent without insecurity and speak without fear. Your words become fewer, but fuller. People might say, "You didn't say a lot, but what you said stayed with me." That is spiritual weight, not loudness, not charisma, just truth carried with authority. And weight does not come from being perfect. It comes from being anchored. When storms come, some people panic, but the sealed believer responds differently. Something in you remains calm, not because the situation is easy, but because your identity is settled. Your emotions no longer control your convictions. Your confidence is not built on outcomes anymore. It's built on the one who claims you. That calmness alone becomes a testimony without a sermon. Then comes another sign of spiritual weight: restraint. You do not react as quickly as before. You pause before you speak. You pause before you respond. You pause because you care more about truth than winning, more about peace than pride. That pause is not weakness. It is mastery. It is the Spirit whispering, "You don't need to prove who you are. I already sealed you." And with time, that restraint becomes one of the clearest proofs of maturity. And slowly, people begin to treat you differently, not because you demanded respect, but because the presence of God in you awakens respect in them. They begin to ask for your counsel. They trust your voice in moments of confusion, not because you are loud, but because your spirit is steady. That is the kind of influence God builds. Not influence that is borrowed from popularity, but one that is rooted in credibility. This is why God takes His time with sealed people. He is not just preparing you to carry responsibility. He is preparing you to carry His heart. Before He gives you influence outwardly, He establishes weight inwardly, the weight of compassion, the weight of humility, the weight of truth spoken gently, and authority carried quietly. That is the kind of leader heaven can trust. So if you feel like God has been deepening your inner life more than your public life, if you've been sensing greater conviction, greater peace, greater clarity, greater restraint, don't overlook it. That is not random. That is formation. That is God making sure that what He builds in you will not collapse under pressure. He is giving you weight so you can stand in places lightning personalities cannot. He is giving you endurance so that influence will not corrupt you. There is a kind of authority that can only be born from secrecy, silence, and surrender. And when God sees that kind of heart in you, He does not need to announce you. He simply begins to trust you. And when heaven trusts you, No earthly stage is necessary for your life to matter. The seal of God gives you more than identity. It gives you presence, and the presence of a sealed believer can accomplish more than the performance of someone who is still trying to prove themselves. Part 5. God reveals what He sealed when time is full. There will come a day when everything God has been doing quietly inside you begins to unfold on the outside, not because you forced it, and not because you finally earned it, but because the appointed time has arrived. A sealed letter is not meant to stay sealed forever. It is protected until the right moment. When God opens what He has sealed, it is not sudden to Him, but it will feel sudden to you. For years you may have felt hidden, overlooked, or misunderstood. People may have seen only the surface of your life, without recognizing what God was shaping beneath it. But heaven does not rush revelation. It waits until the seal has done its work, until the identity is rooted, the protection is in place, the character is stable, and the spiritual weight is real. Then, and only then, God begins to unfold what He's been guarding. And when He does, things move differently. You don't have to knock down doors. Doors begin to open toward you. Conversations shift. Favor finds you without your striving. Wisdom flows from your mouth without rehearsing. Gifts that once felt uncertain now function with clarity. What used to feel like a dream now feels like assignment. Nothing is forced, and nothing is wasted. Everything you learned in the quiet is now useful in the open. This moment often comes when you are no longer desperate for it. The seal has made you secure enough to not chase opportunity for validation. You don't need the spotlight to feel valuable anymore. That freedom is exactly what allows God to trust you with influence. Because influence will no longer replace Him in your heart. You are not stepping into your calling to prove anything. You are stepping into it because the season has ripened. And here is something beautiful about God's timing. When He unveils what He has sealed, the impact is never limited to you. What He preserved inside your spirit becomes nourishment for others. Your peace becomes a shelter. Your story becomes a roadmap. Your words become strength. What God cultivated quietly now begins to multiply publicly. People receive what was grown in hiddenness, yet they benefit from it openly. Sometimes this unveiling looks like a new assignment or a new season of influence. Other times, it looks like deeper clarity, stronger relationships, or an anointing that rests on everyday conversations. Not every release looks like a stage. Some look like a table, some look like a family, some look like a private yes that sends ripples into eternity. The point is not the form, it is the fullness of time. And if you are not there yet, do not fear. The God who sealed you is not idle. He has not forgotten. He has not changed His mind. He is still preparing the moment where what He built in private will bear fruit in public. Your responsibility is not to pry open the seal. It is to stay faithful while He finishes His work. But if you begin to sense something shifting, opportunities that come without striving, grace that flows without effort, doors that open without forcing, pay attention. It is possible that the time has come, not suddenly but perfectly, not accidentally, but divinely. Because when God reveals what He sealed, it never feels random. It feels like everything finally makes sense. So walk into it with humility. Walk into it with gratitude. Walk into it with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they are not standing on talent or luck, but on the faithfulness of a God who keeps His word. The same God who sealed you in obscurity will reveal you in clarity. And when He does, not a single day of waiting will be wasted. Conclusion. If there is one thing I hope you carry with you after this message, it is this. Being sealed by God is not just a moment. It is an entire way of being. It is the quiet confidence of knowing you belong to Him. It is the hidden protection that keeps you from what would have broken you. It is the patience that understands. Delay is not denial, and the maturity that refuses to rush what God is still preparing. It is the calm assurance that when the time is right, nothing and no one will be able to stop what God has ordained. So if you feel like you don't fit where you used to, if doors have closed that once seemed perfect, if your life feels slower than you expected, or if your spirit senses you are being held back, breathe. You are not forgotten. You are not falling behind. You are being preserved. The seal on your life is still active. God is not hiding you to hurt you. He is guarding you because you carry something precious. And when He reveals what He's been protecting, it will not be fragile. It will not be shallow. It will not require you to perform to keep it. What God seals, He sustains. What God protects in private, He will reveal in His glory. No person, no system, no attack, no accusation, no delay, not even your own mistakes can break the seal that God Himself has placed on your life. Heaven has already spoken over you. Earth cannot undo it. You don't have to fight to be seen when you've already been chosen. You don't have to prove your worth when your identity has already been stamped by the King. The seal of God is not just your security, it is your destiny. It is the quiet promise that everything He began in you, He will finish in His perfect time. So walk forward with peace, stand steady with hope, and remember every single day you are marked, you are guarded, you are preserved, and when the time is full, you will be revealed, not by effort, but by the God who sealed you long before anyone else noticed.